Okay, in this case, the midpoint approximation is low. The trap approximation is high. And it's off by about twice as much as the midpoint approximation. Okay? And that's why we use the midpoint twice and the trap once. I mean, this is always approximately the case. The midpoint is low by about half as much as the trap is high. So when you average them, you get very, very close. Now there are reasons. The trapezoidal approximation is a linear approximation. You're just going linearly from one point to the next. Okay? When you do this, what you get is effectively a quadratic approximation. It's like you take every set of 3 points and fit a quadratic function that goes exactly through those three. Okay? That quadratic function will still differ from whatever your actual curve is, unless the curve happens to be quadratic or linear. Okay? But it's going to stay much closer to the curve because a quadratic approximation can adjust for the curvature. Linear approximation just cuts straight across and leaves you a lot of area that isn't represented. Okay? Okay, so what your golden standard here is, at least is with respect to these different options, is your trapezoidal approximation plus 2 of your midpoint approximation divided by 3 is very accurate. It's very much more accurate than the others that we've used here. Okay, now your book doesn't even say this. And that's okay, it's an excellent textbook. I love the textbook. I think the author does a great job, but I would have said it, for better or for worse, whichever the opinion might be. But this is the Simpson's rule approximation. Okay? A trap plus 2 midpoint over 3. Now your book gives you a formula. It's a little harder to understand. But if you follow the formula, which almost everybody does without understanding it at all, you get the right stuff. But I prefer that you understand what you're doing, that you do this and this. You do a trap and a midpoint and do the weighted average. That's going to give you exactly the same thing that the formula does. And the formula has its uses, but this is a lot easier to remember than the formula. Okay? And for the purposes of what we're doing here, if I want you to use a formula, I'm going to give you the formula and then ask you to use it, because it's important to know how to use a formula, okay? But if I ask you to just do the Simpson approximation, I'm going to want you to do this, okay? So you should be able to do it both ways.